All right, welcome to Rockstar Rally. I'm Jennifer Anderson, Superstar Director of Radiant Rockstars. It's Tuesday night, my favorite night of the week. And tonight I'm answering Shelby's question of how did I make my business what it is? What did I do in the beginning? What am I doing now? How are things different? What would I tell my baby consultant self? So there's a lot of my story that many of you know, and maybe some of you don't if you're newer to Scentsy. And I'm not really going to go through all of that tonight. But what I want to share tonight is what I actually did in the beginning of my business, what I didn't do, and my mentality. And then there was a moment that I feel in my business when everything changed. And so I'm going to share that with you too, and share with you what I changed in my business that I feel like changed the course of my business forever. So I joined Scentsy in November of 2010, which in my brain, I feel like Y2K was yesterday. So anywhere in the 2000s, I feel like was yesterday, but 2010 was actually quite a while ago. And the world looks a lot different now than it did in 2010. So some of the things that I had done or have done may not be applicable today or may not work today, or we just have to adapt them to the way that our world works. And that is sort of an overarching theme that I would say leads to big success in this business. It's always being willing to change, always being willing to adapt, always being willing to edit, always being willing to try new things and admit when something isn't working anymore, or when you haven't done your best or given it your all to make something work like you know it could. So the very first thing I did when I started is I read the consultant guide and I did what it said. And that might sound like J.A., duh, okay? But guys, duh, for real. It sounds so simple and it might sound like, okay, there's no real big secret. That's because I really feel like reading the consultant guide and doing what it says is a massive part of launching your business successfully. And it really is that simple. There's no secret. There's no like magic path. There's no like secret garden. There's no like hidden closet. There's no none of those things. It's literally read the consultant guide and do what it says. And it sounds so simple, but I want to tell you this. Most of the magic in a Scentsy business happens when you don't know what you're doing. I want you to hear me and write that down and let that sink in for a second. Most of the magic in a Scentsy business happens when you don't know what you're doing. I see it over and over and over again in my own business and the businesses of others and a lot of you who join. When I see big movement and massive action and things that are kind of magical, it's when people have no clue what they're doing and they just go for it. It's when people don't have all the answers and they just take action. It's when people don't know what the outcome is going to be and they just move. A lot of the magic happens when we have no clue what we're doing. So I had a launch party because that's what the book said. And I didn't really know anyone. And I had it in my house and 4 people came to my house. Facebook really wasn't a thing back then. I mean, like we had Facebook, but no one used it for business or used it for any other way than like to post weird status updates. Like it was really different back then. So social media really wasn't a thing. It was a lot of in-person, what I say where the magic lives, which is tester to nose. Okay. If you smell it, they will sell it. If they smell it, you will sell it. I fully believe in that mantra. If they smell it, you will sell it. And so that's kind of where I lived. I had a launch party in my home. I didn't really do anything on social media. And believe it or not, I picked up the phone and made phone calls to my family who were out of state. I made actual phone calls and I said, hey family, you're a family member of mine. I just started this new business. I would love your support. Here's my website. I'm trying to reach a goal. And when I first started, I told people about that 515 days, that shooting star goal, which we all know what that is. I told people audibly, I'm trying to reach a goal. I have 15 days to do it. Do you want to support my new business? Do you want to help me? That's how I launched my business. I had no idea what I was doing and I just moved. I had 4 people come to my home for my launch party, and I had my starter kit set out. You guys, you know how we have these awesome testers that are like so lightweight and in this cute little carrying bag now? Guys, my testers were like in a box like this, like a box. I don't even have a box to show you, like, but it was big and they were heavy. And each tester, okay, this is a can of Truly. Each tester, no joke, was like this big. Each tester had like a full bar's worth of wax in it. Okay. They were this big and they had a white top on, and it was a plastic jar, and they were heavy AF. Okay. And there were 90 of them, or however many we had. And so, yeah, I did scoop the wax out after we changed tester sizes and had new sleek testers for sure. But they were huge and heavy. And so I had this table with like a mountain of wax testers. I had my starter kit, which had a warmer called Winkin. We had a collection of warmers called Winkin, Blinkin, and Nod. And I got the Winkin warmer in my starter kit. I had that one warmer. I had this other one warmer that I won in a charity auction basket, which is how I found Scentsy in the first place. So I had 2 regular full-size warmers and my wax testers. And then I had like a room spray, and a scent pack, and a Scentsy buddy from my starter kit. And that was it. That was all I had. Catalogs, order forms, business supplies. So I had a Scentsy party with just those things and 4 people. And I reached the shooting star award between that Scentsy party and calling my friends and my family and saying, hey, start a new business. Will you support me? I literally called them on the phone. Now, remember how I said the world is different now than it used to be? If someone called you on the phone, like, are you even going to answer the phone? Probably not. So same thing for your friends and family. They are probably not going to answer the phone if you call, but if you text them or Facebook message them, it's the same idea. The idea is I reached out one-on-one to these people and I said, here's my goal. Will you help me reach it? So I did. I had a launch party, which I still think to this day, a launch party is crucial to your success as a Scentsy consultant. Absolutely crucial to your success. So if you're new and you haven't had a launch party, do it. If you are seasoned and you are recruiting or sponsoring people into the business, make sure they have a launch party. Okay. It's really super duper important. I earned Sensational Start level 3 because I read in the consultant guide, here's what you need to do. You have 70 days. You can earn Sensational Start levels 1, 2, or 3. And I saw that the most money was at level 3. So I was like, why earn anything but level 3? Didn't make any sense to me, right? Why leave money on the table? Why leave that free product credit on the table? So I earned Sensational Start level 3 on PRV alone. No recruits. At the end of 70 days, I had no recruits and I didn't want to start a business, build a team or anything like that. But when I saw how much money I was making from Scentsy, and this is the second thing I did, I just decided to really go for it. I decided. And back then, I didn't really know the power of mindset. I didn't really know the power of positive thinking. I didn't really know anything about how your mind and your brain influenced your actions. But I look back and I see that I decided and I was resolved. And I said, I'm really going to go for this. Like, I'm really going to make some money. So I decided to really go for it. I was all in. I booked an event at my local convention center. It was a log home show. It was the first event I ever did. And I just dove right in with 2 feet. I dove right in with 2 feet. I had no idea what I was doing. If you look back at my display now, you'd be like, oh my God. And you would probably never shop from a booth that looked like my display did. It was terrible. It wasn't pretty, but I worked with what I had and I did the best that I could knowing what I knew, which was nothing. But I just decided to go for it without having all the answers. And let me tell you something right now, that's where the magic happens. That's where the magic happens. And I'll also tell you, like, we didn't have a lot of extra money. Okay. So it's not like I had this money and I just bought a ton of stock and like made this event happen. No, so I was a consultant for 70 days, had no recruits. So I used the 3 paychecks that I got from Scentsy over those 3 months. And I reinvested every single dollar that I made with those 3 checks into buying stock for this first event. So I didn't pay for any money out of pocket. I'm not telling you to go into debt. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm not telling you any of those things ever. I would never, ever in a bajillion years tell you that. And if you've ever like coached with me or I'm your sponsor, I always say, don't ever spend money until you make money. Never, never, never in a bajillion years. That's not how this business works. Okay. And you guys, let me tell you something. My husband was like counting every dollar to make sure that like we broke even and that none of our family money was like being spent on Scentsy, right? And no money was really like coming out of our pockets to be spending. And he was like, hey, Scentsy owes us this, because he knew that my commission was reinvested. And he's like, that's your paycheck. And he's like, look, well, Scentsy owes us these 3 months worth of commission checks, right? So, I mean, I didn't have money. I didn't drop money. I didn't put money on a credit card, none of those things. I reinvested everything that I made back into my business though. And I still did that even after that event for the first 12 months. The first 12 months of my business, I didn't take a dime from my Scentsy business. I reinvested everything. I worked a full-time job. I worked a full-time job and a part-time job. And I worked Scentsy. Because this is something that you must know. You can never underestimate the amount of hustle that it takes to be successful. Don't underestimate that for 1 second. I worked my ass off. I worked late. I got up early in the morning. I came home from work and I was tired and I still worked my business anyway. The third thing I did, I was unafraid and I talked to everyone. I talked to everyone. Again, I feel like that's part of that magic that happens when you don't know what you're doing and you're unafraid and you're not jaded and you just go for it. I wore a Scentsy shirt everywhere I went. I had a Scentsy bag everywhere I went. Everywhere I went, I was equipped with catalogs, samples, join packets, things to hand out to strangers. I mean, I handed out samples to strangers all the time. I had a girl join from Walmart. She was a cashier at Walmart. And when I checked out, I gave her a join flyer and a sample, and she joined my team. I gave samples out to the baristas at Starbucks. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I gave samples out everywhere, the people behind me in line. And you might be like, oh, I'm afraid. Well, guess what? Because of the second thing I told you, that I decided I was really going to go for it. And I committed in my head and I chose in my brain that I was going to make this work no matter what. That drove me to be unafraid when talking to strangers. Okay. The fourth thing is, number 4, I did parties. Lots and lots and lots and lots of parties. I did home parties. I did basket parties. I did online parties, which really weren't a thing back then. It was just like, if you wanted to have an online party, you just had a link. Okay. There was no like Facebook or pictures or videos or anything like that. But I did lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of parties. And at every party, I always worked to book more parties. You guys, I did parties in my area. I shipped basket parties out of town. And then I also did parties out of my area. I drove hours to do home parties many times. I drove 2.5 hours one way to do a home party, did the home party, 2.5 hours back to my house. Many times. Many, many, many times. Because I decided I was all in and I was going to do whatever it took. And I wasn't going to let something like I can't book parties in my area be a reason that I wasn't going to be successful. If you're having trouble booking parties where you're at, expand your search. Expand your search. Expand your search. I did the same thing with events. I drove hours and hours and hours for events on occasions. I did events out of state. I did events where I had to stay in a hotel. I even slept in my car on a few occasions. I hope you're hearing this. The reality is, if you decide to go all in and you want to do something with your business, it requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice. Do you think sleeping in my car was fun? No. I even slept on the floor of a cargo van once, which is super hard. I mean, no padding, no, not like the actual floor of the cargo van. I had a blanket to cover me, no pillow. I used literally a box, a Sensi box to like prop my head up on. I've done it all. And you might look at my business now and think like, oh my gosh, she has it all, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I don't have it all. And I have plenty of opportunity to grow and so many things that I can get better in. And I still work just a totally different way, which I'll share with you in a minute. But don't think that I haven't been where you are. Don't think that I haven't been in your shoes. Don't think that I haven't felt the same feelings that you think. The same feelings that you feel. Don't think that I haven't been frustrated. Don't think that I haven't made sacrifices. I've made them. I stayed in a hotel that was incredibly scary. It's a motel. It was incredibly scary, like outside door kind of thing. You know, like lots of drugs happening right outside the door. And like, I literally was uncomfortable taking my shoes off in the room, like that kind of thing. Like that kind of place. I stayed in a place like that for 10 days because I had to do the West Virginia State Fair, and that was the only hotel left in the area. And I wasn't going to miss the opportunity of doing the West Virginia State Fair because I didn't have a place to stay. I stayed there for 10 days. I slept in the back of my van. I slept in my car. I've driven hours and hours and hours and hours for parties. One single party. One single event. One time, I drove 6 hours one way for a party. 6 hours one way for a party. Guess what happened with that? My host joined. I left her with a basket party because I brought one with me in my car. I left her with a basket party. I drove home, and that host, as you know her today, is superstar director extraordinaire Kristen Ingalls. Because I chose to drive 6 hours one way for a home party. Kristen Ingalls changed my business forever. Kristen Ingalls and her group of Wickless Lester has changed my business forever. You never, ever, ever know. When you go all in, you don't ever say no to any opportunity that's presented to you. I said yes to everything. I said yes to everything. Even a 6 hour away home party. Even events that were 12 hours away and I slept in the van. I said yes to everything. I did parties, lots and lots and lots of parties. Number 5, I never, ever expected anyone else to do the work for me. Never. I never expected anyone to train me. I never expected anyone to hold my hand. I never expected anyone to check in on me. I never expected anyone to text me and be like, hey girl, how's it going towards your goals? What are your goals? I never ever had that expectation of anyone. And thank God, because no one did that. I never ever expected anyone to do the work for me because I know that if I succeed, it's because of me. And if I fail, it's because of me. I know that today, and I knew that then. And I was willing to put in the work. Number 6, I became obsessed with the process and not the goal. And you might hear people in Sensi talk about this. Jason Harwood talks about this a lot, become obsessed with the process. What that means is it's really easy to get focused on a title like reach director, reach director, reach star director, reach superstar director, whatever. But when we're obsessed about a title and not over the process of, and by process, I mean what it actually takes to get to those titles. When we become obsessed with partying, getting PRV, follow-up, recruiting, coaching, mentoring, personal, when we become obsessed with those things, the titles just happen. The paychecks just come. The promotions, the trips, they're just a natural byproduct of being obsessed over the process. I became obsessed with the process. So that's a lot of what I did when I started my business. That's a lot of what I did for the first several years in my business. And then I continued to do it year after year after year after year, all of those things. I never stopped doing any of that. And what happened was I'd earn the trips because it was a natural byproduct of my being obsessed over the process. I got promoted to star director, natural byproduct. I would recruit. I earned annual sales and annual mentor every year, natural byproduct of being obsessed over the process. But you know what happened year over year over year? My team size at the beginning and the end of the year was exactly the same. And my paycheck at the beginning and the end of the year was exactly the same for 4 years. 4 years in a row. Nothing changed. And trust me, I did all those things I just told you. Slept in vans, like did parties, like drove all over the place. Nothing changed. I worked my butt off. I even earned awards and walked across the stage. But like the end of the day, the stuff that I really needed, like my paycheck to change and my team size to grow, none of that happened. So there was a point in my business where I feel like I had a turning point, and then everything changed from there to really have big success and big growth, and when everything shifted. And I started to see growth in my paycheck and a growth in my team size. And not only that, but a growth in growth in others, right? Which is really the goal. The goal was to help others grow. And I gotta tell you this, guys. One of the biggest things you can do to be successful in this business is just stick it out longer than anyone else. Because people are going to quit every day. People are going to quit all the time. Do you know how many people were consultants in my group at some point and they just quit? Or they just left? Or I've seen like other superstar directors, star directors just quit and just leave. People who quit leave so much room for people to be successful. And it's the people who don't quit that end up being really successful. So here's when I feel like everything changed in my business, okay? Number one, I finally found my real why. I finally found my real why. And then I had the courage to admit it. You see, it was probably about 5 or 6 years into my business until I found my real why and had the courage to admit it. All throughout my business, I feel like I was successful just because of all those things I said before. I was committed. I decided. I'm a hard worker, no excuses. I knew I was responsible for my success, all of these things. And I found all of this success. But for me to really have big success and like explosive kind of success where other people get to come with you and be successful too, you have to find your why. Because at some point, if you don't, you're going to get tired. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to want to quit. You're going to be like, it's not worth it. So I finally found my why. And for those 5 or 6 years, I would hear other people have their why, and they would start to cry as they talk about their reason for doing their business. And they would say things like their family and like, oh, my kids. And I didn't have kids at the time. And I would just sit there and be like, oh, I don't have a why. I just work really hard. And I was like so afraid to like, first of all, say that out loud, or second, like it made me so uncomfortable to be in a room with all these people who are crying about their why. I was very uncomfortable. And I was like, I guess I don't belong here. And maybe I'm just different from everybody. I don't really know. The real thing is that I didn't give myself permission to tell the truth and be authentic and be different from everyone else. And when I finally gave myself permission to tell the truth and be authentic and be different from everyone else, then I could really fly, you guys. Because my why wasn't my family, and my why didn't make me cry. My why is freedom, and my why is not having a boss. My why is money. And it's not the love of money, it's the freedom that money brings. That's my why. And when I finally gave myself the courage to admit it and say that out loud, and my why looked like no one else's, then I really could fly. Number two, after I had already mastered the other stuff, sales, recruiting, that's pretty much it. IPAs, after I had already mastered those things, I focused on building leaders. And you guys, it sounds ridiculous, but at some point in my business, 5 or 6 years into my business, someone told me, build leaders. And I was like, what? It's like that thought didn't even cross my mind because I was so focused on sales and recruiting, sales and recruiting, sales and recruiting that I never even bothered to develop people into leaders and help people find success themselves in that way. And then when I really focused on building leaders, everything changed. Everything. And so even if you're thinking like, well, I'm not a director yet, so I guess I can't build leaders. No, start now. Start now. Recognize people in your downline who you think you could build into leadership or who you could help do something with their business. Focus on building leaders. Look for people who either have it in them naturally or who are willing to put in the work or who show up or who want to learn and help them do what you've done. And grow even bigger than you, which is my hope for all of you, that you grow bigger and faster than me ever. And you have way more success than I ever could or do or will. I focused on building leaders. Number 3, I embraced simplicity. Everything changed my business when I embraced simplicity, which is the key to duplication. By duplication, I mean helping other people be like you. I don't mean make little U's, but I mean helping other people make money, helping other people get promoted, helping other people earn trips, all these things. Simplicity is the key to duplication. Trust your girl. I used to do too much. I used to do way too much. Trust your girl. I've tried it all. And I used to think my business is going to fall apart if I stop doing this, or my business is going to fall, my team's going to quit if I stop doing this. I embraced simplicity because it is the key to duplication. If there's anything in your business that isn't simple, you either need to 1, toss it out, or 2, edit it so it is simple. Because anything complicated will not get duplicated. And duplication is the key to big growth and making money. Number 4, I stopped chasing people. As a leader, if you have a team, it's really easy to chase your downline. And it's really easy to chase your downline because either you have a goal that you want to reach so much, and you know you need them to do this for you to reach that goal, or you know what this business can do for them and you know they really need it and they said they want it, and so you chase them, or you want this more for them than they want it for themselves, which I've been there too. And I made all those mistakes. Trust me, learn from me and learn from my mistakes. But I stopped chasing people. Instead, I focused on the people who showed up or who came to me or who wanted my time. Instead of chasing all those people that had been there or been, as hard as it sounds, dead weight. You all have those people in your business, you know, or someone who says they want something, but then they just don't, right? Stop chasing them. Let them go. Let them go and go recruit new people. Let them go and go recruit new people. Lastly, everything changed in my business when I learned that I had to work on me. When I learned that my head work and my heart work was the foundation for building a big business. And that if I wasn't doing the personal development, if I wasn't focusing on making my brain and my heart better, if I wasn't being teachable and coachable and saying, how could I have handled this better? If I wasn't being humble and saying like, I messed up here. How could I change? Or how can I make this better? Or how can I serve you better? I learned that I had to work on me in a way that was focused on serving others. I learned that I had to work on like letting go of guilt and embracing my why and embracing simplicity and stopping myself from never feeling like I was good enough or measuring up to someone else, or I had to stop comparing my journey to other people's journey. When I learned that I had to work on me, not in like a selfish way where I ignore other people, but in a way where, you got to have your crap together before you can help anyone else. And that's what we do in this business. We help other people. Everything changed for me when I realized that me building a successful business was so much more about me helping others find success than me just reaching my goals. That's when everything changed in my business. So learn from my mistakes, learn from the things I did right, learn from the things I did wrong. And you know what? Sometimes you just have to go through it yourself. And I get that. Sometimes you have to learn yourself. Sometimes you have to fall down yourself. And I get that. But my hope is that you learn from all the things that I did right and all the things that I did wrong. And that you embrace your true self and your true passionate purpose, and that you find who you really are, and that you get comfortable in your skin, and that you can really fly beyond.